Hi, this is Lexus Bill, host of Drive Time on Joy 99.7 FM. Listen, you don't have to worry if you miss Drive Time or Personality Profile. It's going to be live on our podcast page. Just log on to www.myjoyonline.com/podcast. You can listen to Drive Time, Personality Profile, and any other of your favorite shows on Joy FM on that page. You don't have to miss a show at all. Joy 99.7 FM, radio for discerning listeners. All right, you're still here on the AM show, and we're going ahead with our big conversation for this morning, has to do with road safety. So here on the AM show, as I indicate, that we're very big when it comes to you, and we want to do whatever we can to make your lives better so that you can live your life and enjoy your life to the fullest potential, achieve all your dreams. But this goal tends to be frustrated by road accidents, which have been on the increase in recent times. We keep losing so many people on our roads, and many others are getting maimed. So the statistics as we have it, between January and August this year, we're looking at 1,927 people who have died in road crashes. 1,927 people. That's a whole lot of people who have died just between January and August this year. And we haven't even gotten to the end of the year. So the stats are terrifying. And if you're comparing that with COVID-19, which, yes, we're spending a lot of time on, and yes, rightly so, we're spending that much time on it. It's claimed a little over 1,000 lives since the pandemic began. So it's important that we dedicate or devote some time to road safety. Joining us for the conversation this morning, we have Engineer David Osafo-Adonting, who's the Director Planning and Programs at the National Road Safety Authority, and then Cecil Gabra, who's a transport consultant. He's the CEO of Top Tech Transport and Logistics, and he's a friend of the show, I should say. Welcome, and thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Gabra.
Thank you, and good morning to everybody.
All right, and here in the studio, we have Mr. David Engineer David Osafo-Adonting, and welcome.
Thank you, my brother.
And thank you for being with us in the studio. So let's start with the statistics, and you have all the statistics, but what? 1,927 people have died in road crashes between January and August this year. And this is not getting any better. And it appears every month we have a lot more people dying. We know the problem. And I believe we know the solutions as well. We have the solutions. So instead of maybe going back to look at the problem, and what are the solutions? Let's discuss the solutions. And Cecil Gabra, I want us to do that with you as well. I think there's no point in going back to discussing the problem. We know what the problems are. So can we discuss the solutions? And it's not as if we haven't even discussed the solutions. We keep discussing the solutions. But again, I say, can we get the people who are responsible to do their job? So I want to start with you, Cecil Gabra. You tell us some of the solutions we keep talking about all the time.
Thank you so much, Israel. It's just the problem is just the same thing like we talk about always, but then there's always a solution, right? Good morning, Mr. Adonting, and I believe you are strong and healthy. Well, road safety begins from all of us. We always say it. It is all of us. It is not from the National Road Safety Commission. It is not from the police, but then majority of the problem is from us. And I think as citizens, what we need to do is to now talk to ourselves, okay? Because you will realize that most of the accidents occur on the highways, very fatal ones. And it's one reason which we always talk about, which is speed, right? I don't know why, many people cannot reason when it comes to speed, because the faster you go, the much problems you give to yourself, right? For instance, this morning I was on the Teshin Road, and A vehicle was, moving from left to right, changing lanes, and I said, this guy will be in trouble. I mean, within some short time, there it was, bam. There was an accident right in front of me. In fact, I've captured it. I always use a dash cam in my vehicle, so I captured. Maybe I'll send it to you later on. And it's the same issue, speed. If we will control our speed, okay, Israel, I believe that will not even have one accident, because 90% of the accidents that we all see is one thing, which is speed. The faster you go, the much more difficult it is for you to solve the problem by reducing the speed. It is not from the police, it is not from the National Road Safety Commission, or authority. David, I'm sorry, please, authority, okay? It is coming from all of us. Let's reason now. Let's put up our thinking caps. And I believe that some time ago, when we used women to sit in commercial vehicles, I mean in front, and then talking to the drivers, let's bring all those things back. That at the front seat, it shouldn't be somebody, a driver, a male driver. We should have a female driver. Who understand speed. Majority of vehicles, majority of passengers who sit in the vehicles do not understand speed, okay? And another solution is that...
Mr. Gabriel, before we move on to the other solutions, I just want us to stay with the speed for a while now. So you talk about speed. Let's ensure that we drive within the speed limit. And I believe if we're able to do that, as you're indicating, we should reduce the deaths significantly. So I'm coming to you, Mr. Engineer. So we know that, yes, if we're able to reduce the speed. And Cecil talks about the fact that it has to be about us. So if we leave everything to us, and we've been talking about road safety and trying to sensitize the public for many years, but we're not getting anywhere with it. So what is the responsibility of the National Road Safety Authority when it comes to, let's talk about just the speed bit, enforcing the speed limit?
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning also to everyone. Good morning to you, my good friend, Cecil. Indeed, I think Cecil has taken it from somewhere, and that's exactly where I will also continue from. That is the basis of it. Let me say also that this year in particular has been a very worrying year for all of us. If you look at the figures, to be honest, the figure we are recording now in 8 months, 1,927 in terms of deaths, is a figure we record annually. So it means that we have 4 months more to go.
And yet
we have hit already what we record in a year. So what is going to come, we don't know. But looking at the trend, it appears that this year would be one of the worrying years compared to the previous, because we have never gone that far if you look at the past 10 years. And so it is worrying. And I would not have any better way to describe the situation than using the word that it is worrying for all of us. Indeed, I am happy you are now letting us move away from problems so that we can hit the solutions. Let me, before I go there, commend your institution in particular with this Drive Safe campaign, Arrive Alive campaign, which we all join hands and ran it over. You were at the lunch in Takoradi, you remember?
Yeah.
And you carried it on to this stage. We all worked together. We had about 22 or 30 media stations running, sensitizing, educating, publicizing. We did an evaluation of it in quite recent times, and you could see the awareness level is rising. The publicity, road safety knowledge, it's about 81% as far as our records show us in the past number of months. That is very good. But the problem we have is that it is not reflecting on the ground. We always say agroniform, but we are not seeing it on the agroniform. What it means is that we have a bigger problem than perhaps we see.
All right.
We have provided the vaccine. I always call it a vaccine. The vaccine is the attitude, the indiscipline, ourselves. And I agree with my good friend Cecil. It's about us. Because in most cases, we have brought issues related to the roads. We said the roads are bad. It needs to be dualized, which we advocated for. We went into vehicles and we say some of the vehicles are substandard. But I can tell you, in the recent crashes that were recorded, we have no road factor. But the roads were fine. They were good.
All right.
You could see the smoothness in terms of the surface. You could see the alignment. The road signs were there. The markings were there. And so the factor that contributed to these crashes were the human attitude, the behavior, the speeding, as you talk about, the wrongful overtaking. Because what would influence you on earth as an individual? A place that you and I use on the Accra Kumasi Road. I use it all the time. I go and come safely. And so sometimes I feel that it is not the kind of education we do, because thousands of drivers have used the same road and they came safe. Yeah. And we didn't talk about that. Yeah. Because they listened, they applied. We say don't go beyond 90 kilometers per hour on a highway. When you're overtake on a straight stretch where you can see and you can be seen. Yeah. And so people applied. If you apply these laws, you will go and come safely. You see, it is happening to those who are recalcitrant.
Unfortunately, engineer, it also tends to happen. You can be observant, you can be compliant, and yet someone
happens to you
who's overtaking, engaged in wrong overtaking, knocks you off the road.
So that is the attitude matter we're talking about. So we're talking about the other person. If the other person is to hold on, is to apply the rules and the regulations as we all see, then that is where we can then minimize the crashes. Until we all begin to change our mindset to minimize the speeds he's talking about, which is real. Any of you could just move to any of the highways now and see what is happening. Now, people are taking over lanes. What it means is that if you have your lane and he is overtaking, he expects you rather to move off your lane and fall into the bush for him to go. It is purely attitudinal. And I think the vaccine that we are provided is that let us change our way of driving. That is why we keep pointing fingers to the drivers, the way they drive, the way they misbehave on the roads. My good friend is right. If we don't change as individuals, it doesn't matter whether it is commercial or if it is private. If you look at the statistics, the private is even worse. Those using private cars are now killing more than even with a commercial. It means that it cuts across the entire society. The very moment we go and hit and sit behind steering wheel, then our attitudes change. We don't respect the law. We don't respect other road users. We do it the way that will satisfy us. Unfortunately, we are not that competent enough to maneuver to safety when it happens that there's danger. Yeah. And so we are taking unnecessary risk. And trust me, we can't be everywhere. The police, even who are to enforce the law, cannot be everywhere. Luckily, they have come up with some innovation. Some surveillance cameras are now being put up, which is helping. In the past number of weeks, we have been together with them. We have apprehended about 400 recalcitrant drivers, and they are all now being processed to court for offenses and so on. But you see, perhaps that is what is coming that may be new. But otherwise, when it comes to publicity, education, sensitization, we have done enough. Yeah. I think we have done enough. It is up to how we make people comply. And whoever fails to comply, it means that you are recalcitrant. You want to kill. We must find a way of identifying you, bring you out and deal with you under the law. I think that is why we must be going. We must be going very hard and vigorous in order to change the narrative.
Has there been a way of finding out what age group, for example, or what kind of people are more prone to being recalcitrant? Because, I mean, I know that over the past few years, from what I've read, for example, women are not as involved in accidents when they are on the driver's seat, because generally women don't speed as much. If I were just to use, pure experience, I would say younger people, speed as much. Maybe those who are a little less inexperienced. Is it in the way that they are being taught? And is there a way that we know that, okay, this age group do this, so that we tailor the campaign to, because for example, if let's say those who are not driving properly are between the ages of 19 and 26, and our campaigns are on TV and on the radio and all of that, then we're not actually targeting them properly because they're more of a social media age. So is it maybe time to take the campaign in that direction, as opposed to just assuming that, okay, they know that these are
I think this is a very wonderful input. The last campaign we did a general target. And so it was more of a nationwide, high-profile kind of education that we're doing. Yeah. It wasn't targeted to a certain age level. But if you look at our statistics, indeed, the youth hovering right from 25 years down to 55 years. Let me even bring it down to 45. I mean, those are the ones, but that is natural with the youth. The exuberant, they always want to get there fast. They always want to get the kind of vehicle that can speed beyond limits. I think you know the attitude of the youth. Perhaps what you are directing is that let us look at them and perhaps target them and deal with them. You know, we have adopted the traditional media in the past. Very soon, in the next month, we are preparing now to move a little away from the traditional media. That doesn't mean that we're going to stop it completely. But the engagement of traditional media is now going to shift to the social media marketing, you know, to promote the safety. In October, we're launching what we call the Stay Alive to run in parallel with the Drive Safe campaign and so on. But the target is more of the youth. I think I'm happy you have brought the issue in now.
That issue also, I mean, I worked for DHL in the UK, and my van had this kind of mechanism where I couldn't go beyond a certain speed. Yeah, a speed, you know. If the numbers are that bad, when we're registering the cars based on insurance, based on who is driving what, is it time to do, I mean, is it time to take drastic measures like that? Because, like you said, the police are not everywhere. The cameras won't be everywhere. There'll still be people who are insistent on being recalcitrant. So is it going to get to the point where we are doing crazy things like that, like limiting?
You see, you talk about speed limiters, and I'm sure Cecil Gabra would want something to say about that, because it's one of the things he's been talking about, that we should have speed limiters on public vehicles.
Yeah, for example, the buses,
Cecil, I mean, I'm sure Nimwa has just hit it exactly the way you were hoping it will be said.
Yes, I always talk about speed limiters because David will even expand it on what I'm talking about, because it's there in the legislative instrument 2180, I think 246 or so, where commercial vehicles and with a certain tonnage must have speed limiters fixed in them. I mean, that should be the work of DVLA and must be supervised by National Road Safety Authority, if I am right, David. But then it's been there from 2012 or so, yes. The LI was promulgated somewhere, I think, 2004. And up to now, we still see all these big trucks, big buses, driving freely and then competing with each other. I mean, that is especially the 207, 208 Mercedes-Benz buses that fly from, Accra to other regions. I mean, they don't care about anything. They compete with each other looking for passengers. So the speed is great. The speed is so much. And I wonder when we can, or maybe if the LI could, I know it's been amended, that instead of those buses, we should start from all those trotros and so on. They cannot, drive more than a certain speed. I mean, maximum speed for them should be about 50, 60 in town, okay? And then even on the highway, they should drive at about 80 kilometers per hour, not to compete with other vehicles. Right, so I always talk about this speed limiters issue, and I do believe it is now time for us to implement it. And then the second thing that I always talk about is that, look, about 90% of passengers, I mean, I'm talking about commercial vehicles now, I'll come to private vehicles. 90% of passengers who sit in commercial vehicles do not even understand driving. They have no knowledge. And therefore, all what they know is that driver may Pentem, take me, and then let me get to maybe Cape Coast quickly. He or she doesn't know that when you get to the caves in Cape Coast, around Cape Coast, you must slow down and so on. Their interest is that I'm going to Cape Coast in the next 2-3 hours, I should be there. Now, let's extend the speedometer to replace the television sets that they watch to, keep them away from speed. That rather distracts their attention in every situation, and then will not care what the driver is doing. I mean, all what they will notice is that the car moves left, right, swerves, and then inside the bush they all go. And then when you are quiet at the morgue there, you can't talk. And are you going to complain? Now, we need to look at that aspect. And then secondly, apart from the speed limiters, I think it's a time to create jobs for people that we must employ, if it's even national service, and put up a very, very attractive kiosk, or, wooden structure or plastic structure with a lot of reflectors on it. If that is on the road and there's even one person seated in that kiosk, I'm sure to bring some fear. Now, that the responsibility of that person is surely to look and check on the log books. By law, all the transports, that's commercial vehicles, must have a log book. And that also will be a deterrent for them to know that, look, from, let's say, Accra to Mankesim, we are not supposed to use 2 hours, and then immediately you get the fine, and that will be checked, as well as the tachographs, which I'm talking about. And this tachograph, David, you can expand on this. It is all in the airline that commercial vehicles must have tachographs, they should have log books, they should have speed limiters. And what are we looking at? We are looking at safety. We are looking at reducing the speed, which is a big problem. It's an encounter towards the death of all of us. You never know, just like Israel mentioned, who is next to go. It can be somebody closer to you. Touch wood, that is not going to happen if only we apply all what we are saying, that, look, things must change. We all must be involved. And then the education must be there. The police, fine, I'm happy 400 people were apprehended. David, that was a very good thing. But how many of us know that in Ghana, about 10,000 cameras have been installed? I think we should put fear into them. All radio stations, TV stations must show footage of what the police, the National Road Safety Authority, and DVLA are all doing. That forms a form of education. If you can remember, when HIV first came into this country, right, they showed a lady who, was almost gone. And it was being repeated on television sets, and everybody got scared. People who were quite promiscuous were always carrying condom, and even others even stopped going to have sex. Hey, I'm sorry, but it's a fact. Let's put that fear into all of us. Let's make sure that we show road accidents. For people to know the cameras that are working must be an indication for people to know that, hey, you will be arrested every corner that you pass. I keep on driving, watching all these cameras working, and there's some joy in it that if you take left and you think you are gone, by the time you get to the junction, there's another camera watching you, and it's very easy to arrest you. This is what we want to see in Ghana to reduce the road crashes.
Okay, so back to engineer. So as Cecil said, we're talking about the speed limiters. We're talking about but it all boils down, I believe, to enforcement, because I have traveled out of this country and been to other countries where I go with my international driver's license, and yet when I get there, I'm hesitant to drive because I feel, and it's true, you said something, anyone said something, that when, as young people, we feel that if we have the vehicle, we should drive as fast as possible. And it goes back to when I was in secondary school. We feel that if we get a vehicle, we should burn rubber. We should display. We should let people know that the faster we drive, it suggests or supposes that, the faster we drive, the better drivers.
And you carry this same attitude to grow.
Yes. But
so that's the attitude.
It took the last few years when I had to travel out, and I noticed that I can't drive because by instinct I want to speed, and yet if I speed there, I'm going to get a fine, and I'm going to bring trouble to my host, or I'm going to pay dearly for it. But here, everybody drives knowing that there are no consequences.
Okay. Israel, I can assure you that the narrative is going to change. From October, I said we're launching a new perspective of road safety management.
Stay alive.
Stay alive. Stay alive this time round. It's not coming with talk. It's coming with action.
Okay.
On the ground, some of the things that you're going to see new. One is the speed limiter project you are talking about.
It will be implemented.
Yes. Just last week, we had a meeting with DVLA, and we have agreed on the modalities and procedures for us to implement. In any case, some organizations have already started. If you go to STC, Intercity STC, you've already mounted these speed limiters and it's operating. In fact, it's one of the reasons why we tell good stories about STC currently. They are using it, and a few transport operators have started using. In fact, we wanted to see how it works, and it's working perfectly. So we have engaged DVLA, and very soon you're going to see this speed limiter project now take off. Beyond that, the element or the component of enforcement is so crucial in these very times.
Yes.
Where people have heard, they have listened, they have seen. Now it's a matter of how to compel them to do the right thing. And I think enforcement, and I agree with you, our next, in terms of steps that we're taking in the near future or in the future, is enforcement. The police have already demonstrated, beyond all doubt, that camera can do the trick. I told you just in a few weeks, we have rounded up about 400 of them. The cameras are going to do the trick. What they are using currently is a surveillance one, identifying.
Yeah.
And we're going beyond identifying. This time, it is apprehending you and processing you for prosecution or for payment. We used to call it spot fine. Now, the MTTD, the police, is not going to apprehend you any longer. You don't see them on the streets.
Okay.
They will be elsewhere in their control room, like where we sit, and the screens are showing everywhere on the highways in the cities and towns, identifying, detecting, and then making follow-ups. As you sit here, you will just receive your offense, right, on phone. Text message, WhatsApp, or what have you. And then you are told where you flouted the law, when and how, and the law that you flouted, and how much you are to go and pay, so that you go and redeem yourself. It will be between you and the pay point. If it's at the bank, you'll be directed. Now, do one mistake, you pay.
Okay.
Do another, you pay. A third, you pay. A fourth time, we will then take you through another process. The worst of it is your license will be revoked, and you go and start all over again. But make a mistake that you don't pay. It will build up. 10 years, you go and pay huge sums of money, just like Europe. And I think that is what is coming.
Yeah.
To complement the efforts of the education that we're doing. And I can tell you, what you have seen is only the identification. Even that, see how excited we all are. Because some of them, we use the cameras to follow them, and we got them. This time round, we're going beyond that. A system, after the offense, will now tell you that you owe government a 120 Ghana cedis or 200 Ghana cedis, for that matter, for running through a certain red light. And then you are directed to go to the commercial bank, GCB, to pay.
Okay,
and that is where we're going.
I'm loving this. So, Gabra, this must really excite you. That eventually we're using technology, deploying technology to make sure this happens.
This is what we want to see. About 2008, I was invited to Netherlands because of this, my mouth, to go and see what they have on road safety. And it's almost the same. You will not see the police in town, but you rather see the police seated in a home, I think it's about 10-story building fixed with cameras. And they observe everywhere. Look, when I was coming back, a Ghanaian said, Cecil, I'll take you to the airport. Now, while he was driving, he was speeding. I told him, my friend, just slow down. You are fetching trouble for yourself. When we got to the airport, later on I had a call that he has been arrested for speeding. I mean, this is what we want to see in our country. So, kudos. I'm clapping because this is what I've been talking about for several years, and we are seeing it. That what will happen is maybe if the next thing is that the police will, play siren looking for a particular vehicle or something, and then that is an action, like an action movie. So it's good, David. I am so happy, and I'm sure Ghanaians will be so happy. And this time, I'll not run commentary when I'm driving. My son says, Daddy, why are you always running commentaries when you are driving? Because of what I see.
Yeah.
So it's a plus for this country, and we need to. I mean, it's only one common goal that we are looking at, to reduce road accidents, reduce the carnage on our roads, so that we can arrive in one piece and not in pieces. I mean, people are going, people are dead, people are really suffering. Other families are suffering because they are people who bring their parents or their fathers, mothers, who are breadwinners, have their limbs chopped off, their hands chopped off because of what accidents that they've been through. So it's a good thing. But David, you mentioned about enforcement, and that is it. For now, I mean, until October, it is far off. And we still need to have the police presence. Police presence is good because they form a sort of education to all of us. If we see them on the road, to reduce the speed, the things that people do. A lot of drivers are recalcitrant. This is an opportunity to deal with them. So I am very happy, and kudos to the government of Ghana, the National Road Safety Authority, as well as DVLA, and then at least MTTU. This is what we want to say. Action, action, action. I am for it.
So you're saying that it's engineers. You're saying that they're going to start in October. This Stay Alive initiative.
Exactly.
I want you to give us some more detail about it. Okay. When exactly in October? Because often we'll say, oh, it's going to happen in October. I guess October. Yeah. We say, oh, okay, let's shift it to January.
Yeah. In actual sense, we are looking at mounting a very strategic way of dealing with the situation in the next 3 years. The campaign will take the lead, talking to people, engaging people. In fact, under the Arrive Alive and campaign, we enrolled 22 media partners, which multimedia was a key, factor. This time around, we're going to hit about 200 of the media stations to talk to people across the country, all communities, all districts. We are backing it up with the social media groups. The Ghana text. We also have the, all the groups are coming up. We're going to have outreach, one-on-one, also across the country. Now we have 16 offices across the country. So all the 16 regions have offices. And we have government has given us the clearance. And so we have employed. Now we used to be, previously we used to be about 50 of us. Now we're about more than 200. So we have deployed them. Now, we have trained them to be inspectors, and we call them road safety inspectors. They are all around. They are checking drivers at various locations on the highways.
Okay.
Sister just talked about it. We already have them. Now, they are enforcing what we call the one vehicle for long-distance journeys. And that's what we're enforcing. And it's so beautiful. Enforcement is so beautiful because if you hit the road now, you see VIP, 2 drivers, STC, 2 drivers, Imperial, 2 drivers, all of them going for long distances. One driver is sitting at the front seat relaxing. When they get to a certain destination, then they change over, then another. So there are good practices that are ongoing now currently, which is making the situation even better than it is. Beyond that, we also going to have the DVLA coming up with the mandatory driver training. It is also in the law. Since 2012, we have not implemented. So DVLA is also going to now bring all the drivers, in fact, both private and commercial, but starting with the commercial, to go into the classroom and will be taught lessons, giving certificates. It is a certificate that is going to make you, the driver, move confidently to DVLA to renew your license, your driver's license, failure of which your license will not be renewed. That is the condition. Beyond that, this is where the police is coming in with that innovation. this technology I talked about, it is at the final stage. That is why we are just running the surveillance one to test it.
All right.
The one that is going to plug in to bring the prosecution is coming. So all this will come in as a comprehensive package. Then we, as an authority, will sit on top, monitor, coordinate, bring out the issues and deal with them as they come up. Currently, we have been given the authority to regulate the public transport system. So all these GPRTUs, the Pro Tours and so on, are not going to go scot-free. Because in the near future, you will not see any 207 loading on the road or along the road. Never. All of them are going to be forced to load from a terminal.
Okay.
And they'll be controlled and regulated. You must join a union and you must be trained. All these things my good friend is talking about are things. Anyway, let me commend Israel, our good friend, Cecil.
Cecil.
If you are listening to me, he did a very practical case on the Tesano road to Labadi, I think, somewhere. You know, we used to have a U-turn somewhere on
Okay, so that's from Dankwa Circle to Labadi.
I saw my good friend one day standing there and doing some practical data collection, made an initiative to Department of Urban
And then
Roads.
they blocked the
Then they blocked
U-turn.
this thing. And you see how it's flowing. These are some of the practical measures that we want to see. I want to commend you for that. But they're going to do more of these practical issues and practices in the system.
Okay.
And I believe the narrative will change.
You too.
I think
But yeah, I mean, these
So-
are, yeah, so.
Right, David, I'm even working at East Legon at the moment. Okay, so there's going to be something new there. Let me tell you what we noticed, right? Which will also reduce traffic. You know, there are a lot of vehicles coming from the Shiashi area that takes the underbridge,
Sure.
right? We realized that they don't stop because the stop sign, that is the traffic light, is not being respected. So what we have advised the Department of Urban Roads and the Ministry of Transport is that, look, we are going to open the old underbridge, and then we will divert traffic from Shiashi to use the underbridge. In fact, just like you said, I have the statistics there. The traffic light was allowing 42 vehicles to join the sprinters in minutes and 5 seconds. Now we will ask them to do it 2 minutes, and it will allow 72 vehicles to join the sprinters. David, I'm giving you real facts, okay?
That's why you're a consultant, you know.
We have spoken to them, and we'll go to the field to let it work, okay? Because the old underbridge is not being used, and if you get there, it's just so sad that people have rather used that place for a defecation center. And I mean, I just ask myself, why should this happen? So we are going to do that, and then people cannot, I mean, drivers cannot take rights to go under the new underbridge. That will allow all the traffic lights to work. At the moment, they are not working. You have the police working almost 24/7 to override the traffic lights. So these are some of the issues. I mean, people are also recalcitrant. We have wasted money. Drivers are recalcitrant. There's red, and that's also one education that we need to look at, that people tend always to the right when they see the traffic light on. So, well, this is just an interlude of the discussions that we are also working on traffic management, and we believe we are all helping the situation in reducing the carnage on our road, because if you are driving and you stay in traffic for a very long time, you become depressed, you become tired. I mean, productivity level for you will be, lower than expected. You get to the office, you're already tired, and then you'll be thinking about closing early to go home. So,
So
well.
Excellent work there, and congratulations to you for the great work that you're doing. But one of the other things I would want us to bring our minds to has to do with, yes, we can have all these traffic monitoring and surveillance systems put in place and attempts to enforce it. But my question is, or what I worry about is, how do we ensure that we don't discriminate so that some people think, the people who are driving the V8s and who are politically exposed think that they can flout the regulations, the road regulations, and get away with it. So that if you pick someone who is speeding and using a V8 or a government vehicle, and the person is able to get away with it because he's using a government vehicle, how are we ensuring that those people are also caught and punished?
You see, when we talk about technology, Cecil, before you come in, when we talk about technology, it knows no person. It knows no position. It's what we have done currently. We have designed it in a manner that it can only free or close its eyes, I'm talking about the camera, for those who have been exempted in the law. The security, well, the police and the ambulance and the bullion vans and so on. Any other person will come under it. So there's no way of interference. There's no way that anybody can go out of it. Once we have all been programmed into it, the camera works in that manner. Even beyond that, between now and when you're going to see the first camera operating, we are going
operating
under,
automatically.
We are operating under a war against indiscipline. WAI, which we started a couple of years ago or months ago with your sister agency colleagues, City Media, we have reactivated it. And now it's working. And go and see the list. The number of the big guys we are talking about who have been apprehended. And on the list, we are looking no back. We are looking no front. We are just working. And it's taking most of them. Some are MPs, some are ministers. All these sirens vehicles you see with the lights blinking here and there against the law. And the president directed, sent circulars to all politicians and ministers and so on that, no, you are not exempted in the law. So the police can arrest whoever flouts the law. And they are all being arrested now. The 400 I'm talking about who have been apprehended, they are all part of this list. So I think that the police currently must be commended. A good friend, Dr. Dampari, I think he's come with some new ideas.
All right.
He's come with some commitment, and he's a safety man. I have every conviction that moving forward, things are going to be different. Our education that we do will now be backed by strong support and vigorous enforcement from the police. And that is where we can make the trick.
All right. Mr. Gabra, are you convinced now that this system that we're putting in place will ensure that nobody escapes it, especially the politicians and the people in high places?
Yes, Israel, I am convinced. I mean, it's a time to take an action. I am happy. In fact, I've heard it all, but David, mine is time frame. October must be October, and action must be taken. And it's just one common goal, like I said, reducing the carnage on the road. I mean, that's a fact. And those big vehicles, I mean, woe unto them. I do believe that they will stop what they are doing, especially on the Spinters Road. I mean, but I have the IGP's number. I'll send him a message to tell him that, look, let's spend one day like on the Spinters Road for now. We are in the month of September. All 4x4s must be stopped. We'll check whether they have fixed strobe lights, which is the red and blue lights meant for the police and emergency vehicles. Okay, let's look at it and then arrest and deal with that situation. Because if you think about it, it doesn't make any sense where you bought a 4x4, you go to Abosiokai, easily you buy the strobe lights, you fix them, you buy the alarm, and then tell everybody, including the police, that, look, I work for the government. I'm a BNI operative. I am with the national security. And so what? You see, these are the people that I want to be apprehended. I want to see the action. David, I'm happy the cameras will know. Let me borrow this word, my phrase from my son, no sizes. Everybody will be dealt with. And are we really sure in this country? Because we still have powers that be.
Yeah, there are powers that be. Engineer.
There are. Some of us in the industry, he knows it. Of course, the police, they know. And I think they have been out on several occasions to say that you arrest and then there's a power, a voice bigger than you
Yeah,
from somewhere.
get a call.
Get a call from somewhere. But you see, that is the level of interference we're talking about. It's happened. I mean, it happens to all of us. And when we come across some of these situations, and you bring it to the notice of the powers that be, you are unable to push it forward to a certain extent. That is why it is automation. Automation knows no man. We have all learned it from Europe. In fact, for this particular exercise that we're going to do, the Ghana automation, we have gone to Rwanda to learn it. We have gone to South Africa to learn it. And we have the experience of the US and the Netherlands, as he's saying. And we have put together, this is the Ghana made.
Okay.
It's been designed in a manner that
taking into consideration
all the factors. The only thing we haven't taken into consideration is interference.
Okay.
We haven't said to the camera that if you see a politician, let him go. No, we said if it is a bullion van, if it's a security vehicle, a police vehicle, ambulance, and so on, those are the ones that I can assure you that they can move through without detection. Even they will be detected, but a system will then validate it.
Yeah.
Whether it is the one to take him to the next stage or not. If it is no, it's just a press of a button to say no.
Yeah.
But otherwise, all others are going to go through.
And we should also be mindful of the bullion vans that they are not carrying any cash. Yes. Over the weekend, I saw some guy, we were driving, there was traffic, this bullion van just gets into the middle of the road and is driving, and I checked and there was nobody, it was just a driver in it. It doesn't look like it's carrying cash, because it was carrying cash. In
Then
fact, in recent times, you notice that the bullion vans that are carrying cash, we have military escorts or police escorts. There's a vehicle ahead of them.
Exactly.
So that too must be looked at.
I think that's right. Otherwise,
they shouldn't be getting that
it will be
exemption.
difficult for a camera to identify whether a vehicle is and so on. But I think I've taken that note.
And one final thing I want us to look at, because we're running out of time, has to do with the motorbikes. What's the plan for the motorbikes?
Okay, there are two things. For now, you and I know that nobody has sticked out the neck to say legalize Okada or don't legalize Okada. And I'm happy you didn't say Okada.
No.
Even though you have it at the back of your mind. You're talking about motorcycle. It's a real menace. It is. What it means is that it has gone beyond what we call safety. It is now survival. People eating from it, buying and operating to survive. It is different from the normal use. So at that stage, a lot of policy issues would have to come in to stop one thing or the other. But otherwise, what we know is that the law takes care of the use of motorcycles. They must all be part of the operations we are doing, the war against indiscipline. You have seen the regional minister, Greater Accra regional minister, already issuing out instructions. And what is coming to add up is the police going to ensure that no motor vehicle passes through red light. That's why we have a bigger problem. Because they are hit mostly. When they are passing through red light. And the camera is going to get you. We consider motorcycle as one of the modes of transportation in Ghana. It's acceptable. It is rather the use, the way they maneuver in a manner that constitutes risk to you and I. It's what we're going to check. The police is coming up with a plan. Perhaps one suggestion is for them to set up a special unit that would deal with motorcycle issues only. So the concentration will be there. In any case, DVLA has also started a program to train them. And I'm talking about motorcycle riders. The training will also be mandatory. So we're looking at training and enforcement. And they are all coming under the Stay Alive campaign package.
All right.
Another one that I may want to end with, and to commend government in this regard, is that there are plans to do the dualization, which we have advocated for a very long time now. You and I, we have sat here severally, and we talk about what to do to address that human error, that individual mistakes we do. Indeed, it doesn't still matter, mean that if you are recalcitrant, if you go wrong and you flout the law, you should die. No. I think systems must be put in place at least to protect you.
Yeah.
One is the dualization we're talking about. The advocacy we have done over the number of years is paying off. Government is making plans. to turn Accra-Kumasi Highway Expressway. And you see, they have started. It is also going to look at the Takoradi section, look at the Aflao, and then the Akosombo section. When we do this, then we will begin to see these changes coming. What it means is that the education, publicity, safe, drive safe, arrive alive, stay alive alone cannot do the trick. We will have to do other things. And so we are going to use the Stay Alive campaign to advocate, to speak, and to follow up on institutions, not for them to sleep, but to do their work.
Yeah.
Like street lights.
Yeah.
They're not functioning.
Okay.
Why
Yeah,
are they not
that's
functioning?
true.
It is somebody's job.
Yeah.
And so we have to go for them and push them to do. I think this is where we can be seeing changes.
And you are the authority. And so, I mean, we're expecting you to ensure that the people
So you
who are
see,
supposed
you
to
see
do
the
their
way
job,
I am talking.
I can
I am
tell.
talking like an authority.
With a lot of passion.
With passion and with vim. And that is what is going to go on the ground.
So Gabra, so about the dealing with the motorbikes, is that the way to go, what the National Road Safety Authority is talking about?
Yes. Some years ago, when these guys started the Okada business and so on, I told my friend David and Obing that, look here, this thing is going to extend. And now here we are, we can't do anything about it. They just moving and causing mayhem on the road. Right, so there should be a solution. I have also been an advocate for training because the little data collection that we did, out of 10 riders, only one has the rider's license. So David, our outfit, has also started training, and it's currently moving on smoothly with the 1 week course, and then will help you also to have a valid rider's license. That is also what we are doing.
Okay.
However, I'm still advocating for one man, one motorbike, because you would realize that most of the people who patronize the Okada system are people who have low income. So why can't we support them and
so
rather
they
give
can
them
own their own
motorbike?
motorbikes?
Yes, train
Okay.
them, and then they set off. They're always careful. I said this, that if Okada is taking the wife or the son, he will wait at the traffic lights for it to turn green. But if it is a passenger that is going to make money, we have the traffic light, he will not even look left, right, and then there he goes till the person is knocked down. Two of them are knocked down. So I'm still advocating the NGOs or the government of Ghana, let's help. How much is the motorbike? Now we are even building motorbikes at the north, if I'm right. Right, let's spread it. It is good transport, but it's the usage which is the problem.
Yeah.
It's the usage, which is the problem. If they will, motor riders are not even supposed to ride in the middle of two cars. They have to select lanes. The laws are there. It's everywhere. And this is what is also causing a lot of crashes that we see. So enforcement is the way to go.
Yeah.
And I like the way David is talking with
a lot of passion.
So yes,
it means
we need to let things work in this country. The authority and the commission, which used to be a commission, is now an authority. They should stamp and make sure that everything works in this country.
Okay.
And after all, what are we looking at? Reducing the country on the road so that we can all arrive in one piece and not in pieces.
All right. Thank you very much, Cecil Gabra, Road Safety Consultant, for joining us for this conversation. And I'm very excited about the passion with which you are speaking.
Thank you.
You're talking about October, and we're looking for very much to this October that we're going to see the action that you are talking about. But thank you very much, Engineer David Adontin, for also joining us for the conversation.